All right, let's talk about a book from 1910 with a pretty wild claim that getting rich isn't about luck or talent or anything like that. No, it's an exact science, just like algebra. The book's called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and today we're going to break down its century-old formula for wealth. So let's just jump right in.
So the entire book really kicks off with this one big question. And it's a question that feels just as real today as it must have over 100 years ago, right? I mean, you see it all the time. People with the same skills, maybe even the same job, but their financial lives are worlds apart. Wattles was convinced the answer had absolutely nothing to do with what you'd normally think.
Right off the bat, Wattles just dismisses all the usual explanations for wealth. Your environment? Nope. He points out that rich and poor people often live right next to each other. What about talent? Not that either. We all know plenty of talented people who are broke. Saving money? He says some people who spend like crazy get rich, while savers stay poor. And not having money to start with isn't it either? Because people start with nothing and build fortunes. For him, it all comes down to just one thing, a specific method he calls doing things in a certain way. Okay, so what is this certain way? Well, this is where it starts to get a little out there. To really get the method, you first have to buy into the worldview it's built on. See that science part of the title? It's all based on a very specific, almost metaphysical idea about what the universe is actually made of. And this right here, this is the absolute heart of his entire philosophy. Wattles basically says that everything you see, everything in existence, the stars, the planets, the device you're watching this on, it's all made from one single, original, intelligent substance. He calls it the formless stuff or the thinking substance. Think of it like the universe's raw material. And the key part is, it thinks. So if you follow that logic, the next step is a huge one. If this thinking substance is the raw material for everything, and if it can think, then it must respond to thought, which means a thought held inside this substance has to produce the thing the thought is about. This is the big idea, the central belief of the whole book, that our thoughts can actually impress themselves onto this substance and create real, tangible things in the world. And here's why that's so important. According to Wattles, when you're doing manual labor, you're just moving around forms that are already here. You're just rearranging the furniture, so to speak. But thought is different. It's the only thing that can create totally new forms directly out of that original formless stuff. This idea basically turns thinking from just, a brain activity into an actual, powerful, creative force. All right, so if thought is the real power here, how do you actually use it? This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the actual formula. And Wattles is super clear about this. It is not just about wishing or daydreaming, no way. It's a really disciplined process that involves both a very specific way of thinking and a very specific way of acting. The formula basically has two parts, and they're totally connected. Step one is the mental work. This is where you use your mind to create a crystal clear blueprint of what you want, and you send that blueprint out to the thinking substance. Then there's step two, the physical work. You have to actually act in your day-to-day life in a way that lets you grab hold of the thing you created when it shows up. So let's break down what each of those steps really looks like. So thinking in a certain way isn't just some fuzzy idea. It demands four very specific things. First, you need a clear vision. And I don't mean just, hey, I want to be rich. I mean a super detailed picture of the house, the business, the whole lifestyle. Second, you need an unwavering purpose, a rock-solid intention to make that vision real. Third, you've got to have invincible faith. This is the belief that what you want isn't just possible, it's already on its way to you. And last, and this one is huge, you need a deep, constant sense of gratitude. And this quote, this really hits the nail on the head. Wattles believed that gratitude is like the key that plugs your mind directly into the universe's creative power. When you can be genuinely thankful for something before you can even see it or touch it, well, that's real faith. And according to him, that's what puts the whole creation process into overdrive. Okay, let's talk about the second half of this equation, action. This is crucial. Your thoughts bring the thing to you, but it's your actions that let you receive it. And Wattles is absolutely insistent on this. You have to act now. Not tomorrow, not when you get a promotion, right now, exactly where you are. The trick is to do everything you can possibly do each day, and to do every single little thing as efficiently and successfully as you can, all while keeping that big vision in your head. Now, all of this leads to what might be the single most important concept in the entire book. For any of this to work, you have to make a massive shift in how you look at the world. You have to move from a competitive mindset to a creative one. And this chart really just lays it all out, plain and simple. The competitive mind thinks there is a limited pie of wealth out there. For you to get a bigger slice, someone else has to get a smaller one. It's a zero-sum game born from scarcity. But the creative mind? It believes the supply from that formless substance is literally infinite. Wealth isn't something you take from others, it's something you create. You're not trying to beat the competition, you're just making something brand new. This is the whole ballgame. You have to completely, totally ditch the idea that there's not enough to go around. Yeah, this quote is pretty much the anthem for the creative mindset. Your focus just completely shifts. It's no longer about what other people have, it's about what you can create out of thin air, basically. When you get rich this way, you're actually adding to the total wealth in the world, not just moving it around. So how does this actually work in the real world? In business, Wattles gives a super practical rule for it. In every single transaction, you have to give the other person more in use value than what you take from them in cash value. Think about it. The few bucks you pay for a book is nothing compared to the use you get from its ideas if they help you make thousands. This idea guarantees that every time you do business, you're making someone else's life better, which in turn makes you a magnet for more growth. Okay, let's wrap this all up. We've talked about this thinking substance, the two-part formula of thinking and acting, and that huge mindset shift from competitor to creator. So what does the whole system look like when you put it all together? This is basically the entire blueprint right here. The foundation, you've got to believe in the thinking substance. Your mindset, it has to be creative, not competitive. And the method, it's twofold. On the mental side, you hold that clear vision with faith, purpose, and gratitude. And on the physical side, you act now, where you are, with perfect efficiency. That's the whole science, right there. And really, the big takeaway is this. Your results aren't supposed to be random. According to Wattles, they are a direct, almost mathematical result of how well you do this stuff. The clearer your vision, the more solid your purpose, the stronger your faith, and the deeper your gratitude, the bigger and faster your results will be. He doesn't present this as some nice idea or a hope. He presents it as a universal law, like gravity. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? I mean, it's been over 100 years, and the ideas in this book are, well, they're everywhere now. They're the foundation for so much of the modern self-help and manifestation world. So what is it? Is this some forgotten science, a timeless principle that really works as predictably as he claims? Or is it just one of the original, most powerful blueprints for what we now call the power of positive thinking? That's a good one to chew on.